Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today is a real mismatch or mishmash of bits and bobs, which I shall get onto very shortly. First of all, the usual YouTube housekeeping. My name is Debbie. I'm a mixed media artist, and if you're new here, welcome. If you're one of my lovely regulars, welcome back. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe and a comment, especially if you'd like to see more of something here, you know, see what I'm doing with it, or any ideas that you would quite like satisfied. Let me know in the comments. And if you like what you see and how I do things, consider joining my Patreon as well. Excuse me, my allergies are really playing up today. It's November and we've got the heating on, and that will account for it. Yes, so please do consider joining my Patreon. You would be most welcome, and I do a lot more over there, as you would expect, and more in depth. Right, so how has this happened again? What happened this time? I had all week to get my story straight, so I do hope you like it. To be honest, what happened is I had a few things in my basket at the art shop, and then I was offered a very good discount. If I spent a certain amount, I think it was 150 euros, I would get 15% off, which is always seductive. They damn well know how to target people like me. And unfortunately, although I pride myself on having pretty good sales resistance, I mean, if I don't want to buy something, generally I won't. So I'm going to stick with that story and say that I meant to do this. I did actually mean to do this. Now, to be fair, this is not in that group. That came separately, but all of this is from the other art shop. And there's some interesting stuff in here, but like I said, it's a bit of a mishmash. It doesn't go together in any conceivable way. Some of the colors look like if they might just work together, but mostly they are all over the place. Just things that I wanted, things that I was interested in, and things that I have plans for in the future. So I thought what we would do today, I've unboxed, as you can see, because my Cocker Spaniel wanted the box. She loves to tear them up. Daisy is a box fiend, so she wouldn't give over. I gave her the box, and I've got these things. Plus I had a sneak peek, make sure everything was okay in there. Now, these are actually all nice and grown up and have a use. I'm going to do some autumn trees. Just let me grab this very quickly. This week, or last week on my Patreon, so the video's up there. Sorry about the shine there. These autumn trees, and that's what we need those for. So they have an absolute purpose, and that video is there for you if you would like to have a look at it. If you don't feel like a commitment to a Patreon or anything regular, I do sell those tutorials individually as well, so you can get a little bit of a taster and see. So have a check of that. That's in the Patreon shop, so just follow the links below. Right, let's try and sort this out. These are Unison pastels. These are the Liquitex markers. We've got some art graph chalks here, which I will show you. These are the artist, they look like Taylor's chalks, but they're actually graphite and really good. I've got a little box of them, as you would expect here. You would be disappointed if I hadn't. And I've got lots of nice colours, and here are another couple. A blue and a graphite I have added to the others. Nice earthy tones, and funny enough, even though they're quite gritty by nature, they don't come off once they dry. You can put them on as straight, you can draw with them. I don't do that sort of drawing, but if you wanted to, you could. But I wet them down and use them like a wetted out form of soft pastel, which works really, really well. This is interesting. This is the Schminke product Liquid Earth, and we have a liquid chalk, a liquid umber, and a liquid sanguine. These are made from German soil, actually, which appeals to me in a lot of very basic ways. So this is a new thing for me. There are 3 in here, as you can see. And excuse me, this is a bit of a sample kit of 3 5mm tubes, so I'll get to that in a second as well. In the same set, but not the same set, is the liquid charcoal, and this one is Cherry Pit Black, and these are made from carbonized, there's one, I think there's a grape, there's a peach and a cherry from memory. I chose the cherry because I love Mars Black, that warm black, and this one looked the most like it, so I thought, right, well, I shall try that. And again, it's only a small tube, but that's all it needs to be, so that's interesting. Then I found some Derwent tinted charcoal, which I haven't taken notice of before or thought to buy, and they're interesting. See what we can use those for as well. There were some gaps in my Derwent Lightfast collection, and I'm not having that. This strawberry is especially nice, and I really like Golden Sun. Those two are very nice. So those. Then I have, let's get this into some sort of order. I have 2 sketch ink from Raw and Klingner. These are a German company that make pigment-based inks, so they are light fast. Lily, which is a brown colour, and Emma, which is a green. So those are interesting too. Very odd and very grown-up illustrations on the front, as you would expect. Then I've got some interesting things here too. A couple of Jacques Herbin inks. This one I have a smaller version of, and it's a beautiful, warm, glowy golden colour, blue azure. So that's a different one again, and rusty anchor, if my French is to be trusted. Don't trust my French too much, but I would suggest that that's probably rusty anchor, although they haven't given us an English, so you're going to have to believe me. It's at something anchor, and it looks a rusty colour. What else have I got here? This is a Aero Colour Sepia. It's a professional acrylic ink, and it is for airbrushing. I have no intentions of airbrushing anything. However, you can also use these with a brush. So that's how I'm going to swatch that one. Also a Schminker brand, a product. Then are these all the same? They are not. That is one lot of sort of bottle, and this is the other sort. I have got some Daler Rowney FW acrylic inks here, very clumsily put together. Gosh, that's a 1.5. Some of them are a bit brighter than I like. And I've got a yellow ochre, flame orange, olive green, Payne's grey, processed cyan, and peach pink. Now, where I'm using these acrylic inks, I will show you in a second actually, because these are also acrylic inks. Oh, sorry, one got missed out, and it is the Antelope Brown, which is a nice looking brown as well. That's quite nice. So lots of nice earthy colours. And I've got much the same deal in Liquitex, because they were having a sale on those as well. So that was also nice. So I have, to add to my collection, because I have 1 or 2, I've got a carbon black and I've got a titanium white here. So the basics. Then I've gone for a muted green, a muted grey, muted pink, yellow oxide, deep violet, and muted violet. What I use these for is quite specific. And let's put them away a bit, and we can then start. Let me grab this sketchbook, not a bloody textbook. Good grief. What I use these inks for is to prepare pages like this. And for those of you who've watched my tree picture, this was this one from last week, you will have seen a little bit of this. This is a prepared page. I just choose 2 or 3 colours and then splash them on any old how, and then go over them with a picture that doesn't take any notice of what I've put on the page at all, just to see what happens to the colours. And because they are applied at random, as I explained in last week's video, you can sort of see the golden colour I've used here. I think that was transparent raw sienna in the Liquitex range. that I had already. And it's kind of come out golden and you get this glowy effect. I think that there are some more in here as well. This is the one, I'm sure. Yes, I've used different colors for these, but these are done the same way, and you can see a little bit of it. Some of it stands out more than other. This one here, oh gosh, that's got so many bloody layers of paint on it because I didn't like what I was doing and then I just left it. I thought, right, well, I have another one somewhere. Oh, here. This one was with a rather startling blue, and I did cheat, as my son pointed out, and kept the blue towards the sky sort of area. You can see a little bit of it here in the undergrowth with the badger, but most of it in the sky area where you would expect to find it. But because he said that, I made myself put a stripe of a burgundy, I believe it is, Perylene Maroon. I put a stripe of Perylene Maroon through the sky just to prove to him that I wasn't really cheating, but I think I probably was. And there's a bit of green under there as well. It's all sorts. But that's what you'll probably have seen this sort of thing around. In actual fact, I've got, oh, this is more. Yeah, I thought there were more. Again, a bit of blue, a bit of the raw sienna, bits and bobs around. This one's got that Perylene Maroon in again, just anywhere, and just see what happens. So that's what those are for. So because I like to work from wet to dry, let's pop those away because they're not new. Actually, that one is. How did that one get into there? That's me trying to be efficient. Because I like to work from wet to dry, let us continue that trend, and I'll put all the pencils aside and we'll just choose an ink. Let's start with these Raw and Klingner ones. Like I said, the illustrations are probably not what I would have chosen had I had any say in it at all, but there you go. Okay. Just give it a good shake because it's pigment ink and sometimes the pigments go to the bottom. All of these products are light fast because I cannot risk painting something for a commission and forgetting in the heat of the moment. I'll get sorted. I'll get all het up about the colours I'm using and say, oh, it has to be that colour. And I'll forget that that was the one non-light fast thing in the studio. So I don't do that. This one is Lily and claims to be brown. Okay, I guess it is. Quite a nice colour, actually. It's got that lovely earthiness. Sorry about the glare on that. Let me see if I can do anything about it. Sadly, I can't. But as it dries, it will get better. So I am sorry about that. You can add more, make it darker. And they're richly coloured, but what I love above all is that they are muted, which means you're not getting any horrid surprises. My case in point is I'm a bit concerned about this one. Again, it's pigmented and some of the pigment's heavy and it will sink to the bottom, but it's still an alarming shade of blue that doesn't appear to occur in nature. So let's just hope. But these Raw and Klingner ones are really, really nice. It's a greeny brown, and I can see myself using that a lot. In fact, it's quite similar to my favourite gouache green that I mix myself. And I mix that using darkest brown, darkest blue, and darkest green to get this lovely, rich, really deep green. That is remarkably similar, but with different properties. And I really like that. I actually like collecting things in the same colour in a different product, because then you can layer them in interesting ways. So, right, give Emma a bit of a shake. My apologies to anybody out there called Emma. Right, this one's green. And again, I am reliably informed that it's a nice green, and it certainly is. That is lovely. So we can put water in it and get it to sort of move about a bit. Once it's dry, it's dry. You get what you get, but really nice as well. And again, let me just give that a small blast with my heat gun. Try and get rid of some of the colour off it. It's almost granulating. Now, do bear in mind that this paper I'm using is a 140 GSM graduate, so not the top quality. by Dale Rowney. And it's where I do a lot of my swatches because it's cheap and cheerful. However, people who are swatching and saying this is how this product behaves, it's a little bit wrong, I've got to point out. If you really want to do a fair test and you're damn sure about what you're getting each time, you've got to swatch every single thing you own on every single piece of paper you can get your hands on individually, because you can find a huge amount of difference from paper to paper, product to product. So swatching like we are now here is only to get a bit of an idea. This does not tell me how this is going to behave on a coloured paper or a textured watercolour paper that's cold pressed and has huge bumps and lumps in it. None of the sort. This is quite smooth and it's quite thin. It's buckling. It doesn't like wet media, and that's not its fault, that's mine. It's not meant to be for wet media. I'm using it for wet media because that's what I'm working on at the moment. So with all of those things in mind, this is not a fair test, and nor is it ever going to be. So take swatching sessions with a grain of salt, because you have to do it every time on every different piece of paper with every single thing. It's tedious and it wastes a lot of paper too. I don't want to do that. So yeah, this is presumably Rusty Anchor. It looks like rust to me. This is the Jacques Herbin ink, and it's a writing ink, but it is light fast, so they tell me. And that's really quite nice too. Let me just make sure. I can't see what's going on because the thing that holds my camera is right across the screen, which is a bit of a bloody nuisance, I'm not going to lie. But anyway, it's a much paler, less sort of, these have got much more oomph. And this one is a little bit more subtle, can I say. But I think it would be very nice for layering a sunset or anything like that. I can see a use for that. This one here is already one of my favorites, and I know what this looks like, but let's do it anyway because it's stunning. Look at that for a gold. So between the two of them, and I mean, you can, this one seems a little bit more saturated pigment wise. You can add some water to it and just use it as a watercolor, and inks are great for that. But you must make sure that they are light fast unless you are working exclusively in a sketchbook and likely to remain so for a long time, because it would be awful to sell them to somebody and then find that it faded out. This one is the Bleu Azur. So that's quite nice. Again, useful, mixable. See what it does with this rusty colour. Yep, forms a third colour. Oh, actually, I quite like that. It's a nice grey colour. So you can mix these together. Most things can be mixed together, actually. Might be worth a video, actually, to mix things that don't belong together. For example, an ink like this and a different brand and a different type of ink, that can work well. So yeah, again, I do apologise for the shine. I will move them about to see if that helps. Right, next lot. Oh, wait a second. This one's a new one to me. I've never used this one before. This one, properly give it a proper shake. It's always worth it because, and shake upside down, because the true loveliness of some of these things is actually dependent on all of the pigment being available. And if it's sunk to the bottom, it won't be. Right, so it's got a pipette delivery. Let's just pop that on like that. Gosh, it's dark. Wow. Well, oh God, that is really dark. Like I said, I've not used this one before. It goes quite nicely with Lily. Bit of water in there. Yes, that's very dark indeed. So that's good. But I've never thought about using anything for airbrushing with a brush. It hasn't occurred to me. Yeah, I really can be that stupid. Yeah, I guess I get caught up with all the other things that I've got and I don't stop and think about what else might be useful. But this is something that we can add to the collection. Okay, on to the Daler Rowney FW inks. And this one is an acrylic ink in Antelope Brown. So what was that one? That one was sepia, that last one, the Aero colour. Very dark sepia. Okay, Antelope Brown. Just give it a couple of little drips there. Oh, nice. Actually, that's a really nice colour. Bit thick and creamy, which feels nice. It's leaving marks and tracks there. Put some water with it. A little bit goes a long way with these, which means that they're actually extraordinarily good value, to be fair. So Antelope Brown is very nice. And it's subtly changing its nature as it dries. Sorry, I think you can see, yes, you can see that. Sorry about that. I'm not trying to make anyone seasick. I just need to know if you can see or not. This one's now dry. This is the Urban. It is Eiffel Brown, and it's very, very, very nice. This one is more of a rich salmon pink, but it's still got a rusty note about it. And it has mixed incompletely with the azure blue, almost making a third colour in there. That may be because I mixed it incompletely, or it might be just what it does. It's worth more experimentation, I think. I wonder what some of these do that are still wet if we pop water on them, because I dare say they will bloom in a way. Right, so that was that Antelope Brown. Still on FW, let's look at this startling blue. This one is primary blue, cyan, normal blue in German. We don't really beat around the bush here. It's just regular, normal blue. Don't expect bells and whistles. And again, I'm just going to put one drop of this because this is, oh my word, it is strong. And very, very similar to the one that I have already kicking around here somewhere from Liquitex. It shouldn't be out, it should be in here. It is indeed. This one is another such startling blue. And I did prepare some of the pages in that sketchbook with this one. And this one's Prussian blue, this one's normal blue. I would be very tempted to mix either of these with white just to knock some of the beans out of them, because it's just too bright for my way of painting. Let's see what this is doing if we blot that. Wow, effects can be had by blotting the water drops that I put on there. Nice. But I do like these earthy tones. The blues are too bright for my thoughts. But like I said, I've got some grey here. And I've got some white, and I tell you something else I'm very tempted to look at with this is toning down colours in these markers sometimes, because I have full set syndrome and, you know, we're in a safe space here. I buy everything and all colours, even the colours I don't like. It's that bad. So terminal case. However, you can refill these. They're not refillable officially, but you can actually unscrew the top. Having said that, this one, I'll find one that comes open a bit easier. They do come open and you can pull everything out and put stuff in there. So when you get a colour like, let me see, oh, this here, that's a case in point. Medium magenta. Hate to see bright magenta. This is way too bright for what I would like. However, I can put a couple of drops of these acrylic inks into the barrel and mute this right down. And as long as I'm sensible enough to write down what I did and how many drops of which colour, then I can replicate the recipe again and again and again. And I think that's really fabulous. So these fluid acrylic inks are very good for that sort of thing. Just a handy hint there. Yellow ochre. Yeah, we all need a hint like that occasionally, because sometimes you get a set I mean, I have my full set syndrome and buy everything. I'm just going to use one drop this time. But sometimes you get a set, you're either gifted one or it was a good buy and you couldn't sort of not. And there's always a pink in it or a green that you're just not going to use. Yellow ochre is very nice. It's very bright. Again, it mixes easily in with the blue. So I can use that blue and that yellow to create a nice green. Also nice to know. Next one is flame orange. I'm expecting this one to be visible from space as well. So 1 drop. We don't need 2 drops. We need 1 drop of these. Kind of like the way this one's allowed the marks to stay in. Can you see that there? The brush, I don't want to tip the orange, it'll go everywhere. The brush marks are still there, so that's quite nice. Yes, flame orange is also quite startling. But again, if you're going to put several layers over the top and prepare a page with this, you don't want something too subtle because it will disappear. It's a bit like theatre makeup. If you ever see a person who's been on the stage, you see them in real life and it's enough to make you gasp. Because if you don't have the over-the-top bright makeup, you'll be invisible on the stage. So this is much the same thing. If you're going to prepare a page with this, you must have something that's super bright. Otherwise, it's pointless. And I quite like to go over those with acrylic paint. This is a fairly reasonable grass green. It's olive green, they think. I don't agree, but then again, nobody cares what I think, so there we go. It's a nice green and I can mix it with others. Right. And the final FW1 is peach pink. So I've high hopes for this. It's got white pigment in it to make it not orange but peach, and it seems to be very nice indeed. Oops, a little bit more than I had intended. But I think we're going to be okay. Yeah, see, that's a nice colour. It's rich enough to be visible through layers, but actually also quite subtle. And it's already changing on the page. Let me just give you a fighting chance of being able to see them. This is the peach pink and that's the flame orange. You could argue that if you put water in it, this one's watered down a bit more. This was a 2-drop job. That one is probably about the same as this now because it's not really fair. I've used more of that one. So if I was to layer this one up a little bit more, that would have the same effect. It would be a little bit richer looking. I'm just organising things here. Put those out the way and wash that. Right. Next, we are on to the Liquitex colours. I'm not sure it's worth anybody's time to swatch this one. I am going to do one thing, though. This is not very good. That's a bit better. This is a Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Dual Marker, and it is black, and it's Indian ink. So what I am going to do is I will test that one, but I won't test it for colour as you would expect, but for opacity. You may or may not know that a lot of people aren't keen on the Liquitex markers, these ones here, because they're not all perfectly opaque. They say they are, but they're not. I like that about them. It's my favourite thing because the textures you can get are absolutely astoundingly good. So I'm just going to pop a drop on our mark there and see. See, now that has, well, actually it's reactivated the India ink underneath. It's not 100% opaque by any stretch, but in places where it's quite thick, it is. And I think if I went in with a second application, it certainly would be. So depending on what you're doing, will have an effect on that. This one's Neutral Grey 5, which is another nice looking one. I've seen it used. I quite like that one. It's nice to have a grey that's, I like warm greys, and this is a nice warm grey, and that's quite nice as well. It's also quite transparent looking, It is opaque on the jar. It says it's opaque. It isn't. Not by my standards. I expect opacity to be I mean, I can see by looking at that, after all the art I've done over my life, that's not opaque. I can prove it if you would like me to, but that's going to be okay for other things. It's good for a mixing color, it's good for a prepping color, it's good for sky color. So I'm not sorry at all. Black, one would expect that to be fairly opaque, isn't. There's nothing guaranteed in this world. Again, I bought these to use to tone down some of the others. So black, it's a nice black. See, it's got quite a warm tone actually. A little bit like my beloved Mars black. So I'm very happy. Hang on, let me just angle that so you can see it. It's got some warm tones in it there. But yeah, there's no way that grey's opaque, and the white isn't either. So when you buy Liquitex things, and they've not paid me to say this, I've paid them for this stuff actually, so this is not sponsored. It's because I like their brand. I have used their brand now for 30 years or more, but you have got to use it with expectation, and I find that I don't agree with their ratings of saying what's opaque and what isn't, but I like textures on things, and there's just enough opacity in it to give you a really nice texture. Oh gosh, getting the lids off these, that one is just not going to budge. It is going to budge. There we go. Up here, this one's deep violet. The other good thing about this is I will end up with a nice cache of, that's nice, that's a really nice red violet. Loving that. Very lovely. I will end up with a nice lot of these bottles, which I keep. I've got a couple here from the Ecolina range, which is this one here. And these are the refills for these sadly not light fast markers that you've probably seen around. I keep these because colors like this one here, this is a Raw and Klingner brand one, and fabulous ink, but getting it out of the bottle's a bit of a pain. So I'm planning to wash this out and get the label off properly and decant some into here, because this one has a little pipette and that will make that a lot easier. So I've managed to save two. So do not throw those sorts of bottles out. They are not considered rubbish. In fact, you can probably sell them to the right artist. Yes, I'm loving deep violet. Nothing like I saw on the internet when I looked at the colour swatch, but that's okay. Let's have a look at muted violet. I've learnt to be pretty zen about these things. If you throw a fit about everything, you'll end up your whole life raging about something. Fair enough, if you've bought something wanting a certain thing and not getting it, that is a different story altogether. But I find that I can use most things, and if I can't, shop somewhere that gives you good refunds. That's the only thing you can do, really. Okay, that one's deep violet. This one is muted violet, and I love both of those. They are really, really nice. And I think I can see myself using them for some nice sketchbook layouts. This one's yellow oxide. Yellow oxide is something that I buy in all sorts of different brands. In fact, I think it's this one too. No, this one's yellow ochre. But yellow ochre and yellow oxide, those sorts of colours, they're really handy. They blend beautifully, and at this time of the year, and I'm shooting this in November, you see a lot of them in our environment. Yeah, see, that's quite nice. It goes beautifully, but you can see straight through it. Now, does it say it's opaque? It does. It purports to be completely opaque, yet here I can see the violet through it. Now, just one disclaimer in their favour. It's all going to depend on how thick the layer is. When it says something's opaque, it never tells you how much of the product you have to use in order to reach that level of opacity. which in a lot of ways is setting you up for failure, because it means that if you look at something and say, well, that's not bloody opaque, and then they write back and say, well, yes, but you have to put a 7-inch layer, a 7-inch deep layer on, and you need 8-9 bottles, then it's opaque. They're not going to say that, and then nobody ever does. You can't actually, in normal usage is the inference that people have, and say, well, what is normal usage? See, I use my gouache paints, for example. If I can just grab this picture again from last week's tree. I've used the gouache is supposed to be opaque. It's an opaque form of watercolor, for want of a better description. Not perfect, but adequate for what we need. However, I water mine down so much that you can see through it, and I use it then to put more layers on to get more subtle effects. Now, that's not considered normal usage, because stuff like gouache is supposed to be, I think that's what I said in the, sorry if I didn't, but I'm talking about gouache. Gouache is supposed to be opaque, and I don't use it that way. I use, let's see what else I've got in here. I haven't used gouache for a while, actually. I think this is gouache here. Gouache plus ink. It is, I recognise my green. Gouache plus ink and a few other bits and bobs. Yeah, this is gouache. So some of it I use quite opaque, and some of it I use quite semi-opaque to almost transparent. I use it as a wash. And again, a lot of people don't like gouache because it goes muddy. That's the reason I want to use it. I love these muted muddy colours, and this is what I do with them. So it all depends on how you use it, and I find that it's very difficult to say, what does opaque mean? What does semi-transparent mean? Because it depends how you use it. And like I said, those things are never stated. Before I go into that one, something very interesting is happening on this page here, as you can see. That was the cyan, blue azure, sorry, that I mixed with the anchor, rusty anchor, for want of a better word. It's mixed and created a colour, but then it's separated out, almost granulated out into its constituent parts. So that's damn interesting, actually. I'll be able to use that. Muted green is the next one. This doesn't look green to me. No, it's a bluey green, but then it is a very nice bluey green, and it is muted. So that is all one can ask, really. So I like that one. It's another Liquitex. And then we have muted grey. Oh, I've missed an FW one. It's okay, I'm pretty sure everybody's in a forgiving mood. This one's muted grey. Looks very blue. But the thing is, you cannot judge things until they're actually put together properly. Oh, gosh. So now I would have called that violet or purple. That is no sort of grey as far as I'm concerned. Doesn't matter how thickly you put it on, it's not grey. Hands up anybody who might agree. Yeah. Again, I like it, but I was wanting a grey. Was hoping for a grey. So it can be frustrating, is all I mean to say here. Muted pink. God only knows what colour this will be. Oh, got a lot of it anyway. Extra hard squeeze there. It's another form of these pinks, and of course you can wash it right out as you would expect. Now, acrylic ink versus pigment ink. These acrylic inks, once they are dry, sorry about the shine, but as you can see, that grey here in the middle isn't, I don't think it's grey. Perhaps I'm colourblind. My husband is. I'll ask him what he thinks it is. When these dry, they're there for good. They won't move about, and that is their advantage over some other inks, although these inks here too, the writing inks and these drawing sketch inks, they stay where they are once they're dry. Let's just make sure on these claims. Absolutely, it's a little bit coming away, but not very much. Not like if you did this with gouache, that would be the end of it. And really all I'm doing is staining the paper with some water. There's not much movement there at all. And that's their advantage, because then you can put them down. You can, like if you're preparing a page, you can prepare a page and it will stay there, which is wonderful. Right, last one is back to FW from Dale Rowney. This one is Payne's Grey, and this won't be grey either. This will be blue, because Payne's Grey almost always is. This has still failed to dry. Actually, I tell a lie. This is more of a grey than any other Payne's Grey I've ever seen. I quite like that. See, now that's grey. If you want to learn what grey looks like, that's what more of a grey. Goodness. Right, let me just show you that. Yeah, that's a nice deep Payne's Grey. I'm really liking that very much. But the other is absolutely purple. Right, well, moving swiftly on. Let's put the pencil aside and the art graph and that there. Let's go with these markers. Now, with the markers, as I showed you with the trees, I use several layers. So I've bought all the browns and the yellows. This one is Raw Umber, also a Liquitex product. I'll just quickly pop some on. Raw Umber. This one is Raw Sienna, and this is the best way to be able to get layers and some depth to what you're doing, is to have different values of the same color. This one's Yellow Oxide. And when I say same color, you might say, well, brown and yellow are not the same color. They sort of are when you put them onto the color wheel sort of area. That's the same family of colors. Then I have a Bronze Yellow. So yeah, all of these different values, which means the lightness or darkness of a color, they're all allied, and they will make a nice deep pattern of leaves. This one, actually this one's not new, this one's my Naples Hue. Naples Yellow Hue, which is deciding not to work all that well. It needs some TLC. I don't know how that one got in there, but that's Naples Yellow. This one is Cadmium Yellow Medium Hue. Now, interesting. I normally avoid cadmium yellow because it's toxic. It's especially bad if you are pregnant or nursing. Cadmium Yellow Hue, on the other hand, the word hue means it's an imitation. It's not a real color. In fact, here in the French, it says imitation. So whenever you see cobalt blue, it means it's made with genuine cobalt, also can be toxic. Cobalt blue hue means it's just a fake form to get the color that you're after. Cadmium yellow hue, same deal. So if I can get an out of buying cadmium yellow, I will. This one's Cadmium Yellow Deep Hue, again, fake version. And I'm very happy to buy a fake in that setting. This one is Cadmium Yellow Light Hue. So we've got the full set. And again, 3 different values of the same color, which is incredibly valuable when you're trying to make those leaves on a tree. Let's see. That's not too bad. That one's not actually shining and not showing you the color. It's needs, like I said, it needs a little bit of persuasion, can we say. Right, now we've got those and those. I'm going to move on to these liquid coal first. And as you can see, I've not had this one out of its packet. This one is the Cherry Pit Black. And like I said, my big thing about this was the fact that it looked a warm brown, or sort of a warm black, a little bit like Mars Black. It's very nice. It'll be interesting to see how it dries and whether it comes flaking off, as sometimes soft pastel, if you wet soft pastel out, which I do, and I will be shortly, when they dry, they'll still come off. You've got to fix them, and I use cheap hairspray, shock horror, to do that. I've done that for over 40 years. Like I said, these are a little sample pack, which is good. weren't cheap, but German soil obviously costs money, which is absolutely fine by me. Liquid chalk, liquid umber, and liquid sanguine. Those three. Let's try the liquid sanguine first. The cherry pit black is very much a Mars black here, the way it is going. I will show you closer in a second. See if I can get a little bit of this out without it all coming out at once. Any coming out would be good at this point. Wow, it's very smooth. Very nice. And I like that colour. Love a muted earth tone. I'd be happy forever if that was all I could have were muted earth tones. Like, oh gosh, the lid is fiddly to put back on, but it does go. If you ever see me using a neon colour, call somebody for help. It's a cry from within. I don't see the point of them at all. And they're fugitive. Right, just get that up to the top. These are quite sort of solid colours. I can definitely see that they are born of the earth. I can also see that they might be local, as in local to Germany. Like I said, that's really, really nice. They wet out nicely. Nice textures possible as well. Very nice. That will be... Gosh, I've given that a bit of a squeeze that I didn't intend to give it. I'll just put that there. This one is liquid chalk. Now, liquid chalk, it might be interesting to know if that mixes with the others, and I'm sure it would. Quite light. There's actually 6 colours in this range. Yes, the liquid chalk's a bit on the invisible side because it's really a white, so I'm not sure what the point of that would be. Like I said, it may go with the others. There are 6 colours in this range, and that includes these 3 little earth ones, the liquid earth, and the 3 liquid charcoal. And I'm pretty sure that one of them is a grape and one of them is a peach stone. And they are basically carbonised fruit pips from the EU. That is very important to somebody. And yeah, they're vegan and natural. But that doesn't mean to say they're safe. These have got some biocides in them that can cause allergic reaction. So don't ever think vegan equals safe. Check with everything. It's always worth it. Apart from the invisible liquid chalk, they're really quite nice. Now, okay, the cherry pit black does flake off. This one's not dry enough yet, so that would have to be fixed. And that's just how it is. If you want that colour, which I very much did, then that's the price that has to be paid. Okay, moving on to art graph. These chalks, have to remember there is actually something there. You can draw with these, or as I prefer to use them, like a watercolour. That drip there. Gosh, this is another startling blue. See what that did with the liquid chalk colour, but any colour will be fine with that. So you can get quite a bright blue. I bought this bright blue not only to go with what I had already, but I also wanted to know what their mixability would be like. For example, this yellow ochre, there's another yellow available, I understand. So supposing I was to take some yellow ochre and a bit of blue, would that make a green? And it does, because the green that's available is horrendous. So that makes a green. Contaminates it slightly, as you would expect, but you could give that a wipe. Add some red to it, tones the green down a lot, and we're getting a nice muddy colour there that makes my heart glad. I've got a white and I have a graphite, so I did not buy that colour blue to use on its own because I knew that it would be pretty nuclear strength. This one is graphite, and it is, oh my goodness, that feels so different. It is cold, it is super, super smooth, and you can see the sheen is very different to the other one. It's really weird to hold, actually. It's so cold. Gosh, okay. And this is a liquid graphite. It's quite a weak colour. You can also clumsily, with my left hand, draw with it. And you can move that around as well as can you with the blue. That's interesting. There are uses for these things, trust me. But no, that's really weird. It's like moon rock or gunmetal. Gosh, get it on film there for you. Yeah, how bizarre. But those are art graph blocks, and they sit very happily there in the box. I mean, they may not be happy, they may be extremely upset, but they're in the box all the same. Pencils. I have, let me leave those for a second. These are some gaps that I had in my Derwent Lightfast collection. I love Derwent Lightfast, if only for the fact that they're Lightfast. No, they're also damn good pencils. This one is yellow, just quite yellow. Must have run out of ideas of what to call it. Really nice golden yellow. And I wanted to top up some of my yellows. In fact, we shall do something in a second. I don't know if you've seen my yellow testing video. I will put it up for you somewhere here. And I will show you how these fit in. Actually, I think I got rid of the yellows. I didn't. These are, no, these are oranges. There's a couple of, so yeah, forget all that. It's not a yellow video. I'll do a yellow video. Somewhere here I have got an orange video, and no, this was the yellow. Sorry, I'll get it right in a minute. What happened here, I'll tell you in a minute. So trust me, this will all make sense in a second. Yellow. This one is amber gold. Sounds a little bit more romantic. Amber gold. I know why I got that wrong. Golden sun. Very nice as well. Oh, that's lovely. That is very akin to this colour here, this ink. So I'm liking that. That will get used. And this one is strawberry. It's a really nice colour. Very nice indeed, as one would expect. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this a bit of a blast and dry it off, and then we're going to go back to the other page. I want to show you something. Right, just before we go, yeah, the cherry pit coal comes off quite a bit. I can see the art graphite on my fingers too, but these others, that kind of, it feels like the Japanesque, Turner Japanesque acrylic gouache, this sort of one here, in that it's got a tiny bit of what feels like grit, as if it provides its own key on the paper. And the chalk, of course, yeah, that's staying put pretty well. They're good, but that one's coming off. That needs fixing. Right, let me just clear this up once and for all. I did 2 videos on YouTube for this series looking for a really good orange and a really good yellow. And the reason why I didn't think this was yellow is because they've all gone green. Now, you remember a couple of, it feels like hours ago now on this video, where I said if you're going to swatch, you've got to swatch on everything on several different papers. Well, I put some gouache down because, just grabbing my sketchbook again, I don't use coloured pencil straight onto the paper. I use it onto gouache. So I put gouache down as a substrate. That was watercolour, but normally I put gouache down as a substrate, and then I put my coloured pencils over the top. So it's of no use to anybody at all to test coloured pencils onto white paper and say, oh, that's nice. That's not what it's going to look like when you use it, because I'm not using it in that context. So I painted a page with black gouache, and I did a yellow test, and to be honest, there was one there which I believe was my beloved yellow ochre from Derwent Drawing. Yes, it was. Thought so. That was the winner. And judging by the size of the pencil, which should be about this long, you can see it's already a winner. So that was a foregone conclusion. But then I decided to go back in and find these, and I will now add them to this swatch. So I'll put the thing up for this video so you can see it on the screen, and you can then have a look at that, the link to the video. But so far the yellow ochre from Derwent Drawing is hard to beat. These are also a Derwent product. So let's see. So Golden Sun first of all. Yep, see that's a big nil. These all look green. They look like engine coolant. All of these are actually yellow, would you believe? Some of them are Caran d'Ache and quite sort of smartly expensive pencils, but they don't work for me. That's still the winner. It's still the winner because Golden Sun, that hasn't done any good. Yellow, let's go with that. Again, nope, that's not its true colour. But you can see the difference here. That was the colour there. And here's the colour in actual real life, in a real life situation on gouache, which is how I use them. And finally, amber gold. No, there's nothing as good as this one here for opacity and clear colour. May as well give the strawberry one a go, even though it's got nothing to do with any of these. Yeah, see, that one's all right. That's kind of a true colour, and that's sat on top of the black. But these others, they're just not opaque enough, and it's not what I'm after. So that's what I was trying to get out before. So finally, for this little lot, we have got some tinted charcoal, and these are a Derwent product, new to me. This one's lavender, and it's broken. Nice. You can move it around with your finger, but it does rub out a bit and goes quite light. What does it do with water? Anything? Not all of these will. It sort of does, actually. Can sort of do some things with water with it. So that's good. Like I said, it's a new product. This is why I've bought 4 of these. And the way my full set syndrome works is I'll tend to buy a small amount of something, and then if it works, I'll go in and buy the rest. This one is Mountain Blue. There's a little bit of dust, a bit richer colour. And it goes quite well with the water on it, which is nice. That's Mountain Blue. Then Sunset Pink. It's quite interesting. Bit of water there apparently. It blends out a bit, but the blendability with my finger is not massive. It's better with the water. They would almost certainly blend together in a certain way. Nice for subtle effects and so forth. And green moss. There's always got to be a green for me to be happy. That blends out a little bit. It does erase somewhat when you blend it with your finger. And with water, it's better. A little bit better. So quite subtle. These would go with my Graphy tints as far as I'm concerned. I'm not sure that I would complete the set of those. I'll use them and see what I can come up with. Right, let's dry that. Last but very not least are a couple of boxes of Unison pastels. These are really hard to get here in Germany. I can get them from Spain through a shop there. There are probably 1 or 2 other places. Gosh, that charcoal is really crumbly, but I do like the colour. My fingers are so dirty, I can't tell what's going on now. I can get them through Spain, but they're really difficult to find. So these are from Jackson's in the UK, and these are their half stick sets. And I've got some labels here. This other one, that one. This one is dark 11, and then green 26, green 28, green 34. Actually, no, this one must YGE 18. It looks very similar on here. I don't care. It doesn't worry me too much. I just look at the colours and think that's the one I'm after. I do like these. You can use them on their side. You can blend them. But above all, what I love about them is you can use them with water. And they are probably one of the better ones for wetting out like that. So I shall go through here now and give them all a bit of a swatch. My hands really will be in a state. It's okay. like that colour, which is presumably green 34 or YGE 9, either one, because it's really difficult to tell on here. Like I said, these are only half sticks, but they do go quite a long way, to be fair. And maybe this one's green 34, that's a bit lighter. You are probably screaming at your computers right now, so I'm so sorry if I'm frustrating you. They're all nice colours. These two are a bit bright for me, but there are ways of knocking them back. They're so creamy to use, especially some of the pigments. That one's nice. Just give my fingers a bit of a wash in my posh finger bowl here that once started its life as a salsa jar. Right, a little bit of water. Yeah, beautiful. They've got not a lot of binder, and the surface tension is quite low. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Love the effects. These two are very similar, actually. I'm not sure I would have put both of those into a set, especially not considering the amount of greens they've got to choose from. But in their wisdom, they have decided. Yeah, so as you can see, all of those are quite easy to wet out. The ones that I buy here in Germany are Mangayo Gallery pastels, which are also lovely to use. They're lovely and creamy and so forth, and they blend very nicely too. But when you try to wet them out, certain pigments, and I bet this is not one of them, I bet this one will go easy. No, it's not going to, thank goodness. The water just, you've got to keep scrubbing for quite a while. I don't know if you can see the difference there. It's resisting all the way. It's just beading on top, which is incredibly frustrating. But I can use a tortillon stump to blend those out, so that's absolutely fine. The other set I have here is the red and orange mini set. Again, half sticks. This is quite a startling shade. I'm not even going to attempt to say what it is, unless it's damn obvious. Maybe orange 1, because that corresponds to where it is in the box too. The greens didn't seem to. It's just lovely. And then a red 8. I'm more confident with these. And as long as I remember to put them right back in the box where I get them out of, we'll be good to go. Very Christmassy colour scheme going on here, actually. This one is orange 3. Then red 10. I like that one, that's very nice. This one's a real Fanta orange. Nice. It's always quite a fresh colour to use. And then a red 6. Fanta orange is better known as yellow 8. Red 6 is a salmony colour. Then yellow 10. It's actually probably one of the only proper yellows in here, which is okay. And this one is orange 6, more like a light flesh tone. Very nice. And you can see how softly they go together there. Again, they will need fixing, especially if you are going to use sensitive equipment like fine liners over the top. And they wet out like a dream. Our mixed colour there. Nice. And this is one of the reasons I've been hunting them all over Europe, not finding them, gave up eventually and just went back to buy them in Britain. There are shops here, offshoots of Jackson's in Germany, but either one is good, because the only thing that stopped me from going there in the first place was the fact that on so many things you've got to pay quite hefty customs duties, and I didn't want to do that if I could get out of it. Oh, nice. Very good. I'm very happy with all those. There's not much here that I regret buying, actually, if anything at all. So, yeah, all good. A couple of bright ones in the set, but that's what you get when you buy a set. I've saved a lot of money. These sets came in at about €15, I think. And considering pastels of this quality can run to a lot more than that. These are great. They're a limited colour, but they're half sticks. Big enough. I'm very happy with that. So that and all that. Like I said, it's a weird one. Nothing fits together, but it all fits into my existing kit, and you will see more and more of these over the next weeks as I use them and show you what I did with them in the end. Right. That's it for the week. That was a long one. Thank you for staying with me. If you indeed did stay with me, I really appreciate that. And yeah, if there's something here you might like, and yeah, stay tuned over the next while, like I said, and see how I use them. In the meantime, I will bid you adieu and have a good week, and take care. Happy arting time, people. Bye.